Tonight, there is breaking news in the hunt for the suspect in the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. New reporting right here tonight. Of course, Charlie Kirk shot and killed with thousands gathered. Tonight, the FBI releasing photos now of a person of interest, describing him as college age, dressed in black, a dark baseball cap, sunglasses, and a shirt with an American flag on the front. Tonight, what investigators have been able to do, piecing together some of this timeline. When the suspect arrived on campus, how many minutes later before firing his weapon, where he escaped on that roof. Tonight, the video appearing to show a person on the roof immediately following the shooting. And tonight, police have found a high-powered rifle in the woods, and what they found on the roof of that campus building. President Trump speaking just moments ago, our team standing by tonight with what they've just learned. Also tonight, the chilling new details on the deadly school shooting, students in critical condition, and what we've now learned about the gunman. Tonight, the dramatic testimony here in the trial of the man accused of trying to assassinate President Trump. The Secret Service agent who says the suspect was just 5 feet away, and what that agent told the jury. Tonight, the American economy, the new numbers just in, grocery store prices up. From ground beef and steak to fruits and vegetables, coffee is now up more than 20% from this time last year. Economists on what's driving this. Also just in tonight, there's been a deadly helicopter crash in the Northeast near utility lines. The deadly gas tanker explosion, surveillance capturing the blast, at least 8 people dead, more than 80 people injured. Across the country tonight, it is hard to believe it's now been 24 years since 9/11. Tonight, you will hear from the families who have not forgotten their loved ones, and we pay tribute right here tonight. Also this evening, a famous former NBA player being treated for a brain tumor, and a major recall this evening involving hand soap, the concern that it could cause sepsis.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we begin tonight here with breaking news in the deadly shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The urgent hunt tonight, and the FBI releasing images of a person of interest. Seen on campus, authorities tonight describing him as college age, wearing a dark baseball cap, sunglasses, and a dark long-sleeve shirt with an American flag on the front. Authorities combing through campus security videos showing the moment Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, was shot and killed while taking questions during an event at Utah Valley University. Tonight, authorities say Kirk was killed by a single gunshot fired from a campus rooftop more than 100 yards away. And video tonight right there appearing to show a person on a roof immediately following the shooting. And we learned today that police have now found a high-powered rifle in the woods. What they also discovered on that rooftop where that fatal shot was fired. They believe the suspect went to the other side of the roof, jumped off, and ran on foot into a nearby neighborhood. And they now believe the suspect arrived on that campus at 11:52 in the morning, firing that single shot about 30 minutes later. President Trump speaking just moments ago, and ABC's Matt Gutman leading us off tonight from Utah.
Tonight, more than 24 hours after conservative activist Charlie Kirk was killed by a single bullet before a crowd of thousands of college students, a massive manhunt underway for the shooter still at large. The FBI releasing these images, asking the public for help. What looks to be a young man dressed in black in a shirt that appears to have a flag on it, wearing a ball cap and sunglasses.
We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location.
Authorities going through surveillance video, releasing this video of the suspect climbing and then jumping off the roof and escaping after the shooting. They believe he watched from that perch for some 20 minutes as Kirk revved up the crowd.
That's a lot of people, Utah, I'll tell you what.
And at 12:23 p.m., as Kirk was answering a question about mass shootings, that sniper, more than 100 yards away, fired that single shot.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
In an instant, panic. Students ducking for cover, and as they did, cameras catching a shadowy figure in black on a rooftop.
We were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood.
Law enforcement piecing together the clues, a footprint on the roof, and prints they believe are from the shooter's palm and forearm. Investigators searching backyards.
They're looking for someone.
Going house to house. And right in front of us, you can see members of the FBI's evidence response team combing this neighborhood, looking for any clues. Yesterday, this neighborhood was crawling with SWAT teams looking for the suspect who they believe had walked through here. And in the woods nearby, law enforcement said they made a discovery. A high-powered rifle wrapped in a towel and 3 unspent cartridges inscribed with words and symbols. Tonight, authorities working on what those markings might mean. But tonight, the shooter still at large and the campus a crime scene. Pictures now telling a tragically familiar story. An abandoned classroom, laptops still open, a backpack left in a chair. And this, tables piled high, a makeshift attempt to barricade a door. And among the youngest witnesses, the horror of the shooting.
It was traumatizing,
Traumatizing.
like the blood was everywhere, and I just keep on thinking about that.
12-year-old Mia Grant and 11-year-old Elle Steele said they stood less than 15 feet from Kirk when that shot rang out.
Everybody was ducking. We were wondering if there was going to be another shot fired.
Yeah, so I covered my head down. We all covered our heads and just dove down, and we all said prayers in our minds.
Do you remember what you prayed for or how you prayed?
To be safe and just have Charlie have a miracle maybe, or just have us be safe and no more other shooters.
Charlie Kirk, just 31 years old, leaves behind his wife Erica and 2 young children. Today, his close friend, Vice President J.D. Vance, flying to Utah to escort the family back home to Phoenix on Air Force Two. President Trump has declared the shooting a dark moment for America and Kirk a martyr, today announcing he would be awarded the nation's highest civilian honor.
Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
So let's bring in Matt Gutman live on the ground there in Orem, Utah tonight. And Matt, investigators have been able to map out the suspected gunman's movements, at least some of them jumping from that roof and then running. They're carefully going through campus surveillance cameras, trying to piece this together.
And it helped him track, David, his movements from the moment he arrived on campus, entered a building about 200 yards behind me, climbed the stairwell, took that perch on the rooftop, and after taking his shot, scampering across the roof, somehow jumping off that roof and walking into a nearby neighborhood. And authorities say because he was a college-aged man, he was able to blend in that crowd, fleeing the chaos. David.
Matt Gutman leading us off here again tonight. Matt, thank you. This evening, the FBI studying that high-powered rifle and what it might suggest about the gunman. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, as the FBI searches for Charlie Kirk's assassin, they're zeroing in on a high-powered single bolt-action rifle that they believe the suspect left behind. Sources telling ABC News, based on the long distance from where the shot was fired from an elevated position, the shooter likely had considerable experience with firearms. The gun and cartridges are to be flown to the FBI's main laboratory in Quantico, Virginia, for the most technologically advanced forensic analysis the Bureau can muster, specifically to identify any latent fingerprints or DNA. And authorities are trying to run down where and when the gun was purchased, specifically its ownership history. And as for those photos, tonight sources telling ABC News authorities are using facial recognition technology to help identify the person of interest. They're offering a $100,000 reward and establishing a digital tip line, FBI.gov/Utah Valley shooting, as they continue to piece together evidence which will lead to the capture of what authorities describe as a cold-blooded calculating killer who remains at large.
David, while they've not yet identified the person of interest, my sources are optimistic the images are clear enough that someone will soon recognize the man seen in those photos. David?
Pierre Thomas live with us tonight. Pierre, thank you. This evening calls to bring down the temperature across this country with Republicans and Democrats being targeted. Jonathan Karl tonight on what we've seen already just this year.
On Capitol Hill, the tension is so high that even a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk erupted into a shouting match on the House floor.
Wait a minute. The House will be in order. The House will be in order.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson urged lawmakers to lower the temperature.
We don't think of our friends and neighbors and fellow countrymen and even political opponents as enemies. We're all Americans.
But around the country tonight, fear the epidemic of political violence is only growing. Since just last summer, we've seen the shooting of 2 Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota, including the former Speaker of the House, who was murdered along with her husband in their home. the firebombing of the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania, where hours earlier the Democratic governor, Josh Shapiro, celebrated Passover with his family. And of course, the 2 attempted assassinations of Donald Trump. Voices in both parties are calling for calm. Former President Barack Obama writing, quote, "We don't yet know what motivated the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, but this kind of despicable violence has no place in our democracy." There is also growing anger. Many of the louder voices on the right are echoing the words of President Trump, who blamed Charlie Kirk's murder on the political left, vowing vengeance.
We have a radical left group of lunatics out there, just absolute lunatics, and we're going to get that problem solved. I'm only concerned for the country.
Charlie Kirk was a big advocate of nonviolence and free speech on campus. How do you want your supporters to respond, sir?
I think that way. He was an advocate of nonviolence. That's the way I'd like to see people respond.
Trump listed the attacks on Republicans, but not on Democrats. But Utah's Republican governor went further, citing the attacks on lawmakers in both parties, saying the nation right now needs leaders.
Our nation is broken. We desperately need leaders in our country. But more than the leaders, we just need every single person in this country to think about where we are and where we want to be. To ask ourselves, is this it?
President Trump is in New York now, attending tonight's Yankees game. He said he had a long talk with Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, and that he plans to attend Charlie's funeral next weekend in Arizona. David?
John Call right there in the Bronx for the Yankee game tonight. President Trump is attending. John, thanks. Meantime, tonight, the dramatic testimony in the trial of the man accused of trying to assassinate then-candidate Donald Trump in Florida. Today, the Secret Service agent who says the suspect was just 5 feet away and what that agent told the jury. Here's Aaron Katursky.
In a season of political violence,
keep walking!
Tonight, Ryan Routh, the man accused of trying to assassinate Donald Trump on his Florida golf course, is on trial, and we're learning just how close prosecutors believe Routh came to killing him. Secret Service agent Robert Furcano testifying he was in fear for President Trump's life when he spotted Routh's alleged sniper perch coming within 5 feet of the rifle. Prosecutors telling the jury, if not for Agent Furcano's actions, Donald Trump would not be alive. It was just weeks after then-candidate Trump narrowly survived the attempt on his life in Pennsylvania. The government says Routh planned for weeks, making 17 trips to scope out Trump International in West Palm Beach. There was no purpose for that trip other than to kill Donald Trump. Today, the jury heard from the critical witness who said he spotted Routh running away and jumping into a car. He testified he snapped a photo and gave police the license plate. Routh is representing himself, but today seemed to undermine his own defense, praising that witness who led to his arrest. Good work. You're an American hero. I celebrate your efforts. On this first day of testimony, David, the judge had to rein in Ryan Routh, saying he was rambling and threatening to make a mockery of the courtroom. David?
Aaron Katursky with us tonight. Aaron, thank you. There are chilling new details in the deadly school shooting outside Denver, Colorado. Police say the suspect opened fire inside and outside Evergreen High School. 2 students wounded, both remain in critical condition tonight. The 16-year-old allegedly taking his own life there at the scene. Authorities tonight now say he had been radicalized by a so-called extremist network. They did not elaborate. Tonight we have news on the American economy and the prices you pay. The new numbers: grocery store prices up from ground beef and steak to fruits and vegetables. Coffee is now up more than 20% from this time last year. Economists on what's driving this. Here's our chief business correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis, tonight.
Tonight, if you feel like prices are still inching higher at the grocery store, you're not wrong. According to the latest inflation report out today from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, food prices between July and August jumped 0.6%, the biggest monthly increase since August 2022, and are now 2.7% higher than a year ago. With coffee up 20.9%, apples up 9.6%, and bananas up 6.6%. Ground beef up 12.9%, and steaks up 16.6%. And while the price of certain items like eggs and ham have been moving lower recently, economists predict the impact of President Trump's tariffs will start showing up more overall in the final months of the year.
Tariffs are clearly going to be causing price increases across consumer goods. I think we're going to start to see a lot of it as you get closer to the holiday season.
Many major retailers like Walmart, Macy's, and Home Depot have acknowledged those increased costs, but say they're working to keep prices low where they can. And David, economists are pointing to a number of factors driving this: a shortage of farmers, those tariffs, and even bad weather. David?
Rebecca Jarvis with us here tonight. Rebecca, thank you. And with inflation and those prices rising, the stock market actually responding positively today because many investors believe those concerning numbers will convince the Fed to cut interest rates next week. That news sending the markets to record highs today, the Dow closing above 46,000 points for the first time ever. The NASDAQ and S&P 500 also hitting all-time highs. Tonight, a landmark decision by Brazil's Supreme Court. Former President Bolsonaro found guilty of plotting to overturn his country's 2022 election. Prosecutors say he considered assassinating the president-elect in order to cling to power. He was sentenced to more than 27 years in prison. Bolsonaro receiving strong support in the past from President Trump. When we come back here on this busy news night, the images coming in this evening, the deadly gas tanker explosion, surveillance capturing the blast. At least 8 people dead, more than 80 injured. There's also been a deadly helicopter crash in the Northeast near utility lines. The images just coming in and what we know so far. And it's hard to believe it's now been 24 years since 9/11. Tonight, you will hear from the families. Every year they walk up to that microphone, and it's never easy. And what they said this year in this moment. Tonight, first responders are on the scene of a deadly helicopter crash outside Allentown, Pennsylvania. 2 people were killed. Officials say the helicopter was being used by a third-party contractor working on utility lines there. Tonight, we also have pictures coming in from Mexico City. An investigation underway after a deadly gas tanker explosion. Surveillance video capturing the blast. At least 8 people killed. More than 80 were hurt. Authorities believe the truck may have exploded after tipping over on the highway there. When we come back tonight, a famous former NBA player being treated now for a brain tumor. And we also have a major recall tonight involving hand soap and the concern that it could cause sepsis. We'll have more in a moment. To the Index tonight, former NBA player Jason Collins revealing he is undergoing treatment for a brain tumor. Collins retired in 2014, playing for 13 years. Tonight, Collins and his family asking for prayers and for privacy. Of course, we certainly wish him well. We have a major recall tonight. DermaRite Industries expanding its voluntary recall of hand soaps, lotions, and shampoos over potential contamination that could lead to sepsis, they say. More than 30 products involved in various names, all made by DermaRite. We have much more for you on our website. When we come back here tonight, it's been 24 years now since 9/11. For the families, it doesn't make it any easier to stand at that microphone to say their loved one's name. But they did, and it was moving. In a moment.
ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, sponsored by Pacific Life, nearly 160 years strong, with financial strategies for a more confident future.
Finally tonight, it's been 24 years since 9/11, and this evening the families remembering their loved ones.
Judith L. Jones.
Chief Warrant Officer William R. Routh, United States Army Reserve.
My son, Toshiakuge.
My sister, Wanda Anita Green.
My grandfather, Edward Joseph Papa. Grandpa Eddie, our family says that I have a lot of your traits. They say I'm kind and generous like you. I hope to be just like you when I grow up.
Our grandfather, Battalion Chief Joseph Grislack.
The stories passed down taught us that you are brave, brilliant, and an endlessly devoted family man, Marine and member of FDNY.
My aunt, Danielle Casulas, you inspired me to run my first marathon and to never give up on my dreams of attending the United States Coast Guard Academy to one day serve my country.
My cousins, firefighter Michael T. Carroll, FDNY Ladder 3, and my cousin Peter J. Carroll, FDNY Squad 1. Rest easy, brothers. I have the watch.
My cousin, Michael J. Berkeley. This nation was united in unspeakable tragedy. Our better angels prevailed, and may they prevail again, and not let hatred divide us. God bless America, God bless us all, and protect us.
Let's never forget that we pay tribute tonight. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.